Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. Afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on. Doug, how are you doing today?
Doing excellent.
Good to hear. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living, Doug. And again, you'd be talking because obviously this voice isn't very good now.
That's fine. I am a veteran peer support specialist with Lifeways Mental Health Agency here in Jackson, Michigan, USA. I work with the veteran population, those who served in uniform in our U.S. military. And my primary goal is to meet them where they're at, connect them to resources that they might not be aware of, and be that listening ear when they're struggling with some sort of mental barrier that's going on in their life.
That's a pretty
I,
noble cause. And in all fairness, now I'm not a military guy. I don't put much attention on it. But from what I'm seeing, worldwide, and it doesn't matter for which country we're talking about, worldwide, from what I'm seeing and everything, the veterans, not the military, but the veterans are often neglected. Now, could have been for various reasons. I don't know why exactly. I'm gonna leave it up to you because you're into this, but I'm being left with the impression that they're being neglected.
yes, in some capacity, lots, in my opinion, I think it starts maybe in leadership, senior officers are overstressed with lack of troops, lack of supply, funding, you name the situation, and that puts tension on everybody just in our everyday lives. If you think about how if we're short on funds for the week or for the month, it puts a stress on
Yeah.
mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I think, and I was on a couple of shows yesterday and I shared this, that I believe that we need to do more for our troops going into the military right in boot camp, right in their basic training.
What
More
is a
needs
boot
to be
camp?
done. It's a training of 8 to 13 weeks, depending on branch of service. And you go through physical, mental agility testing, schooling, everything, military culture. You learn how to
So it's
be,
it's like the basics of the military.
yes,
Ah,
yep.
okay, gotcha.
You learn everything. And I think, and I shared this with another podcaster yesterday, that more needs to be done, in my opinion, right in basic training to do some more mental health evaluation before they go on to serve and have that mental health. Spend a week, spend 3 days, whatever your curriculum can allow, but we need to do more to make sure that those entering the military know that it's okay not to be okay and to ask for help. If they feel that life is crumbling around them, they have the ability to just reach out and not be condemned, not be stigmatized. And in the end, it's going to make a better soldier, sailor, Marine, Coast Guard, airman
And
out
a
of that
citizen
individual.
afterwards.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
pretty good. And now you said you were a veteran. Being left with the impression that you yourself were in the army or involved in a military activity. How did you get there? Were you like walking on the street one day and you were like, let me be part of the military, or something else happened?
No, I actually attempted to go to Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan, USA, after high school. Unfortunately, I did not prepare myself school-wise to go and take college prep classes my senior year. Therefore, when I did a tour and met with a school advisor, they, in a nutshell, they basically told me that my chance of survival the first semester was really nil to none because I wasn't prepared to enter college.
At least they were honest.
Yeah, brutally honest.
Yeah.
And so I had to do something with life, and I turned to the Navy and entered the Navy in June of 1981, went to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois, USA in October of 81, graduated in January of 1982, had a couple of weeks leave, and then went to Charleston, South Carolina, and went aboard the USS Mullinix DD-944, which is a 4 Sherman-class destroyer.
How do you remember all that? That was 40 something years ago.
That's a good things that I remember.
And I know it's 40 something years ago because my brother was born in that year. I have an older brother.
Okay.
So yeah.
So yeah, I was stationed on board that. I went to Beirut, Lebanon during the multi-peacekeeping mission in November of 1982. However, on the way there, I was a bosun's mate responsible for helping drive the ship, paint it, tie it up. And on the way there through the North Atlantic, we drove through 40-foot waves, 20-foot swells, and 45-degree rolls for 2 days. So imagine a little pop can in the bathtub bouncing up and down all over the place. That's what we went through for 2 days. And I got to go to Liberty ports like Palma, Spain, Naples, Italy, Mombasa, Africa, the Maldive Islands. I had a great time. I came out of the Navy in 1984 because, unfortunately, certain circumstances occurred that did not allow me to stay in. And from there, I was out for a few years. And then I came back home and joined the Michigan Army National Guard, which just celebrated their birthday yesterday.
Nice. Congratulations, then.
And I became a truck driver for a few years, and then got out for 10, and then went back in 2002 and went to Iraq in 2004 and got a deadly, near fatal staph infection from the sand that medically retired me.
It is part of the job, and it is part of the risk. And your story is truly fascinating. And I'm sure you have more to tell about the third question. It's how did you knew that this was the way to go? Now, you covered that one, kind of. But I'm sure you've noticed yourself that a lot of times, especially here in Europe, but I'm certain that in the United States and Canada, it's a rather similar issue. People just get out of high school and they don't know what to do. They have this stigma that you should go to college to secure your future, which isn't true. Okay, I'm a poster boy for education. I have a college degree, a master's degree. I was thinking about PhD. Didn't start it because it wasn't my thing, but I'm not against academic studies at all. I'm simply highlighting the fact, and I believe it's a fact, but you know more, so you will correct me if I'm wrong, all right? But I believe that if you just start something for the something, you won't be successful. Now, what do I mean by that? They go to those colleges, they pick up the first thing they find that they're admitted over there. Afterwards, they lose 4 to 6 years, and 4 to 6 years is a lot. Now, I don't mind losing money. I've lost money. I'm sure you've lost money at some point. Everybody losing money, that's not a pleasant experience, but it's fine. Money can be gained back. Time whatsoever, and now that's a completely different story because you got a young person now who lost 4 to 6 years for something that's clearly not for this person, getting out of college, full of self-esteem because of the diploma, which in all fairness, it doesn't mean that much. To be honest, sometimes it doesn't mean anything. But that's the situation. So you have a lot of high self-esteem, almost no skills, lack of professionalism, lack of work ethics, because they don't teach them that over there anymore. when I was a student, it was a specific subject about work ethics that hadn't been taught in a while now, and that's a problem. And I am 100% certain that if you start a job that it's not for you, you're gonna be there for 8 to 10 hours a day, and you will be a miserable person. And if you're a miserable person for that long, you will be a miserable person when you go back home. If you live by yourself, you can be miserable on your own. Now the problem is if you have a spouse, a wife, daughter, no, wife, children, and stuff like that, they will be miserable too because of the mistakes you did. And it's insane, and it's an issue that isn't being addressed a lot for various reasons. So I just wanted to hear your opinion on this matter.
So long of the short is I I went to college when I came home from Iraq, and thank God, and I
Yeah, but you
obtained
were an
my,
adult back then.
yes, 43 years old, I started college. I am now 60. So I went to college late in life. I was a non-traditional student. I obtained my business administration associates with a certificate in marketing. Then I went on to Eastern Michigan University, where I tried to go in 1981 and received my bachelor's in communication, and then continued on to my master's and completed my master's 3 years ago
Nice.
in communication. And what and I even took business ethics class. I took communication ethics, and you are right. More work ethics do need to be taught early on, because I, not to be proud of, but I am on my 58th job in my life, which is my final, but I'm 60 years old, soon to be 61 next month. Yes, more work ethics do need to be taught, because here in America, the workforce, many companies are struggling significantly, including my own. No one wants to work regardless of the hourly pay.
I've heard that, and I have a very vivid and very wild imagination in general, but I cannot imagine that to be true. I'm hearing that from different sources. I assume it's true. How does it work? Like nobody wants to work, because that's not how life works. All right.
No.
Even in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were there and God provided everything, they had to work. All right, that's how we are designed as human beings. I'm an accountant. I'm not a theologian. I haven't read the Bible or anything, but you don't have to be. It's common sense. So could you please explain how just expound? I don't even know what kind of question to ask. What do you mean you don't want to work? How does that work? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if the younger generation is being, because obviously kids from from birth to 18, 19 years old, before they leave home, they're living with a mother or a father or both.
Okay.
And obviously those individuals have got to be working to pay their mortgage.
Fair enough. The bills
Every
and everything.
operational. So I don't know where it's not being taught to go into the workforce and put time for money. Now, some who have from a minority background, that maybe mom and dad is significantly gifted with lots of money, so maybe some of that classification of people.
I wasn't talking about those people. I was talking about the average people, like you and me.
I think the average people might be doing maybe some of those illegal things to generate money.
I remember it was 2008. I graduated high school. I was already accepted in the college that I want to go. And back then, because now we have shared service centers, business centers, everything, and call centers, everything. So it's incredibly easy to find a job now. But back then in 2008, things were a little bit different. And my parents came to me and said, Junior, listen, you're way too good looking to be a construction worker. So either you will be a waiter or a bartender by the end of the month, or you're out of here. So I was a bartender. It was really that easy and that simple. So
Yeah, I haven't having young boys now. Well, now they're 27 and 23. The 23-year-old just got out of the U.S. Marine Corps about 6 months ago. I did try to instill, when they were around me, I tried to instill a good work ethic. And yes, we become enablers. I believe we become enabling to our children if we don't put a harder push.
yeah,
If you're gonna, like when I returned home from the Navy and went back to living with mom and stepdad, I had to pay a little bit of money each week to stay there.
yeah, I was the same. I had to pay 1/3 of everything, third of the
Yep.
bills, third of everything.
And I had to help out with chores around the house, help
Yeah, and I
mow.
found out it would be cheaper for me to just go away.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And so I don't understand. It's like you said, you don't study theology or the operations of people's minds or anything. It's interesting because during my college time, I also studied customer service satisfaction,
yeah,
which means internal, external. And I tried to understand why the internal customer becomes unhappy, which is you and I working for a dollar exchange. And then the external customer is those that come in for product or service. Like you said earlier, if we're not happy, they're not going to be happy. If we come home with if we go to work with a bad attitude, we're going to emanate that
yeah.
bad attitude onto our coworkers and onto our external customer, therefore reducing the satisfaction percentage rate down.
And people are in general, I think it's like intuition or something. If someone is just a miserable person in general, I can sense him from 100 kilometers away.
Yeah. The negative Nancy's, I call them.
Yeah. and I believe, again, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, I believe this is an ego problem. Like, okay, you graduated something, you did something, it's clearly not for you. Why do you stay there and torture yourself? And I've asked that question, and it's almost always the same. Well, what will people gonna say about? People are going to say something about anything. It doesn't matter. You can be the most perfect human being. You can be better than Jesus if you want to. People are still gonna talk nasty about you. It's just how people are. So I'm not saying you should be an absolute donkey running around the street and doing stupid stuff. I'm highlighting that you shouldn't pay much attention to people.
Yeah, and going to point about your education and you don't need a degree, I found what I found personally, and some of the success is because of my recovery from my 2 attempts to take my life in 1999 and 2001. But some of my success since then, because growing up, my life was horrible, in my opinion, bullied and everything else. But my success, just because I went into college thinking I'm too old to get a job with degrees, because people ain't going to hire somebody in their mid to early 40s, regardless of what kind of degree. And the job that I do now, I don't need a degree, but I did apply for a lot of other career path fields. But because of my age, I know it, because I can't provide a company 20 or 30 years of service when I'm 45, 50 years old. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to employ a 75, 80-year-old working in their company. And
Do you have those social programs where people are being hired just before they get retired or something?
I mean, most people getting ready to get retired or retired, they are your greeters in your local grocery stores and volunteers at the hospital and things like that.
I see.
For me, I see a few other people. My supervisor is preparing to retire from the mental health field, as well as I am. But I know that a lot of individuals today, I don't believe a lot of people coming into a workforce like my young sons, they're not going to stay at that same job for 20, 25 years.
No.
Because we know facts that the average person works about 7. Now, I was the outlier, having 58 jobs. Most people maybe have 10, 15 at most, and I left jobs for a variety of reasons. But
well, it's a two-side process. So that's why when people hear 59 jobs, it sounds a lot, but truth be told, I've changed probably about 6 or something, and I have about 15 years work experience. So yeah, and I'm 33. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this whole "you're gonna work here for the next 30 years" mentality, that's wrong. Because first of all, what guarantees you that the company will be there in the next 30 years?
Right.
And I mean, what do you? Because I know people that I work for a pretty big corporation.
Mhm.
It's pretty big. It has a lot of options. A guy that I knew, not personally, because he was from another country, but I knew him, and we worked together. He was an accountant. Then he moved to the transport division, and now he's a captain of a small ship. He still works for the same company, but from accountant to a captain. You never know. But this is not a standard case, all right? Because a lot of companies are not like that.
No, they're not.
So if a company has that mentality, that's not the right way to think. And I have a fourth question for you. If you can give an advice, and I'm sure you can because you're doing this for a living, if you can give an advice to those people that are struggling right now to find their place, what will it be?
I would say, and I'm currently actually privately working with someone who is struggling mentally right now, is to never give up. I wear these bands on my wrist. One says never give up, and the other one says we can stop suicide. And then this one is do not give in to the war within. And this is from the This project. And on this inside of the band is my 20 years since my first, this is back a few years ago, but my 20-year reminder. It's now been 24 years since my first attempt. But I wear these because I remind myself every day when I get up that God spared my life for a purpose. And many individuals don't realize they have a purpose. They haven't discovered it. And the good Lord helped me discover my purpose. That's to be a beacon for hope for people, to be compassionate, empathetic, listen to people. I mean, I work for the very same agency that I used to receive mental health services from in September of 1999. And
that's pretty good.
People don't understand how that can be. Well, I don't understand how, and that's why my book My Dark Shadow, Living a Suicidal Self, that's coming out sometime next year with Dorrance Publishing, it focuses on all my darkness, what I consider challenges that I faced in life that led up to the attempts, and then afterwards, all the success. I am the Department of Michigan Veterans of Foreign Wars mental health director, responsible for the mental safety of 32,000 veterans in our state of Michigan. No, not every single person is experiencing mental health crisis, but all 32,000 and our auxiliary members know I'm the guy. I'm the guy to come to when you're feeling helpless, hopeless, you don't feel you have purpose, you don't feel you deserve to be alive. I'm the guy, because I'll take time 24/7 to listen.
That's pretty amazing. And one side note, I really loved what you said, because no matter how educated or aware you are or your experiences, I don't know. And I'm a history buff. I read a lot, and I have never heard in recorded history for something to be done properly by a man who doesn't have that faith in God, because you have to know that there's a higher power. Now, there are some people these days that don't feel comfortable calling him God.
Right.
I don't know why, and I don't care, and I don't want to know why. But for me, that's God. It's that. And as long as you walk with him on the path that not you, because you didn't choose it. I hope you don't take it personal. It's not an insult. And this is my view, of course, because you didn't choose the path. That this path was made before you were even here. You got here, the path was made for you. As long as you walk on that path along with God, things should be fine.
And yes, absolutely. And regardless of what your belief of religion is, things don't happen by circumstance or coincidence.
Yeah, true.
Lots of people might believe that. And I was kind of that believer for a while, even though I am a Christian and have belief in God and everything. However, what I am doing now, I wouldn't have imagined 5, 10, 20 years ago. And it's obvious that I am. And yesterday on Facebook, lots of friends congratulated me on being a guest on my first few podcasts and sharing my recovery story and everything. And it isn't just me.
Yeah.
My friends and my support system, my VFW members, my family, my friends, my network of people all deserve my success, because they're the ones that believe in me. They're the ones that motivate and encourage me to keep going higher and higher every day. And who would have thought that some little shy introvert of nearly 32 years ago would actually be writing a book, because I failed English class.
So did I.
Public speaker, a public professional speaker, a business owner of a suicide prevention speaking business, and more importantly, being invited to be a guest internationally like this minute. I wouldn't have thought of that for a million of a seconds.
You gave a lot of advices, and here is one from me. I don't know if you've read his work. Forgot the name, but I'll remember soon. It's a German philosopher, Eckhart Tolle. His name is Eckhart Tolle, and says it pretty good. It's in the Bible as well, but he says pretty good. Observe all of your thoughts, every single one of them. Observe them, know that they're there, and don't believe any of them, the good ones or the bad ones. They don't exist. They're only in your head. So don't ever think about anything. You have practical thoughts, right? I gotta drink water, I gotta eat something, I have to build a house to live somewhere. Those are practical things. I'm not talking about that. I'm gonna meet this girl tonight, we're gonna see a movie. That no, it doesn't work like that. Wait and see, one step at a time. So I in case you haven't read his work, this is a pretty good advice, and I'm living by it, and it's pretty awesome. And with that said, Doug, huge thanks for being with me. Please send me all of the links, Facebook, everything. I'll put them in the description
Yeah.
below, and more people will be aware of that as well.
Absolutely.
Right on. Have a great day, Doug, and thank you for being with me.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.